Should NATO countries participate in a combat mission against Russia?
Well, that's a tough question, but it's a good question because you really have to know what you're talking about.
When you're talking about NATO countries.
When you're talking about NATO countries.
And Russia.
Yeah. I think something has to be done about the Russia situation. Who else can do it besides NATO? I have no idea. I don't think they can. Ukraine will survive without NATO helping them out. So.
It seems like NATO kind of is poking the bear. And so I'm really not too sure. I don't want to see World War III happen. So it might be best if they just stay neutral.
I think that's a pretty hard question to answer just because of the potential consequences. It's not an easy one. Should they stop it? Yeah, for sure, if they can. But if that means thermonuclear war by a crazy guy, yeah, bad idea then. But so we'll see.
The answer to that question is no. I personally think that Canada should stay out of the war of Ukraine and Russia. Let the warlords fight it out. Canada should just take care of its own.
Personally, I think they should just back up Ukraine and I don't think they need to get involved and start a bigger war than's going on, but I think it would be good to send people over to Ukraine and just know that they have their support so that Russia knows that what they're doing isn't really acceptable. But I don't think there needs to be more violence. I don't know if they can find the way between both of those.
We have the ability to do it, so we should. We should support our neighbors. Even though they're not our next door neighbors, we should support our neighbors.
I think they should, because I mean, then the next, if they let it fly, they're just going to continue on, right? So only if it escalates.
If they get involved in the conflict, it's only going to escalate the tensions between the two countries. And I think that since NATO is a defense-backed alliance, I think that ultimately it's only going to exacerbate the tensions between the two countries. And I think that the better option is to try to de-escalate the situation as much as possible. And I know in the last few days and recent developments, there's been some talks of peace agreements between Ukraine and Russia, and hopefully that progresses without the intervention of NATO.
Part of me wants to say yes, but at the same time I know that the consequences are pretty intense, so I think unless, well, I mean, I think right now the best way to do it is to show as much support as we can to Ukraine, but to actively go in there to start World War III, I mean, that's a little steep, so I don't think it's not yet.
No, it'll turn into a world war if they do, and who knows what Putin will do. That's pretty scary, actually. So I feel for Ukraine. I hope they can persevere and win this thing, but they're in a tough spot for sure. Yeah, but I don't think NATO can get involved unless provoked.
I think Russia, they're gonna go take over other country, and next country is gonna be Moldova, and they're gonna be small country, because if they're not reacting, Russia they're gonna take over land, because the only thing I think Russia understand is the power of other country. Yeah, I think the action of NATO is a very, very important in this situation, especially now.
I think they should get more involved than they are, but I don't necessarily think they should make any rash decisions. But I do think they should be applying more pressure to the situation and providing more support.
If not, where does it end? If Russia just invades Poland, where does it end? If we're going to get involved if they invade Poland, why not get involved now and get ahead of the game?
I don't think so. We know what's going to end up in that situation. I mean, I think we'd all like to see something done a little bit, more in the way of helping out Ukraine, but I think it's too dangerous. So I think we're on the right path for that.
I don't think so, just because I feel like the more destruction we add to it, the more destruction's going to happen and everything's just going to get worse for everyone. I think if we can limit the amount of violence we bring into the situation, that's the best. I agree that we should support them in any way we can, but I don't think bringing more chaos into the situation is going to help.
Oh, I don't know about an armed attack, but I do feel they're not doing enough, and so I'm not quite sure what that middle ground is, attacking Russia directly, but defending Ukraine. is a sort of a thin edge of the wedge. I think if you limit the Canadian forces within Ukraine and not specifically attacking Russia, I think if you frame it like that, I think it's good. I think we should support Ukraine in every way we can.